What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, and today we're here to discuss a super exciting update for a fan favorite archetype within Gold Paladins. We are, of course, talking about Ezel. So coming out of Clan Collection Volume 4, we did receive some updates for an archetype that we haven't seen or support for a really long time for. This is, of course, Ezel over here. So Ezel is all about just riding up, superior riding, constantly applying pressure to your opponent, and just accelerating your game way before they can do it. So, and now in Premium, we've been able to get away with crazy shenanigans for quite a while, but we are starting to get some power creep within V as well to kind of bring this archetype back to the light. And I'm going to go over some strengths of the decks, some weaknesses, I think, just my thoughts on the ban list in general, and what it does for this deck in particular for Gold Paladin. I know we haven't, or at least in the time of recording, we haven't got the English update. I've only seen the Japanese one, but I don't think it's going to be too different. So irregardless, I think most of what I say is going to still be accurate, and I'll still post this video here. So without further ado, let's hop right into a clan overview first. I will kind of discuss just the general options you can play within this clan before I get into the Ezel archetype, and then obviously the deck profile, and I'll do a test hand at the end. And before we jump right into that overview, I just wanted to quickly mention that if you guys are interested in purchasing any of the cards that you see here today, we do have a TCG player affiliate link down in the description below. You can shop through that link to help support the channel. Absolutely no cost to you, much appreciated. And if you are enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like on the video, possibly consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out, really trying to hit that 1K mark. Thank you in advance. And we do have a Twitter if you want to follow us for local results, week over week, just general thoughts, things of that nature. Come and follow us on Twitter. All right, hopping right into the clan overview now. So I'm starting off with Spectral Duke. So starting off kind of with the best to worst, I guess. Spectral Duke is an awesome card. Has a lot of in-archetype support. Basically is all about being at limit break, which is basically 4 damage, restanding this guy with an extra crit and an extra drive. A lot of pressure. I think in Gold Paladin in general, there's not too much pressure from Vanguards, outside of maybe Ezel and one other Vanguard I'll get to in just a little bit. So this guy applies a lot of pressure, and the support is generic enough to just make this clan so broken. I know Percival just got hit in Japan, so I think the same will happen in English, to be honest. But even still, I still think this is a very fast, very aggressive deck. I still think that it's very good overall. Maybe not at the same tier level that it was previously. I think it was, floating in that best deck category, but maybe it'll take a slight step back. But overall, I think it's still pretty strong and maybe the best in Gold Paladin. Next up over here, I'm going to be talking about Gurgit. So Gurgit actually has the opportunity now with the Percival unban, at least in Japan, to come back and actually be a little bit better, because I've been rocking this with the Ezel engine, and I think it still accelerates absolutely fine, still is very powerful. This guy is all about calling units down and then giving them power if they were superior called, and we superior call from the deck, and on your opponent's turn we also get to superior call from the top 5 of our deck 2 units to the Guardian Circle. So nice little defensive interaction, which is pretty rare in Vanguard. Very different flavor overall. This was a G era unit retrained. I really like the art on this guy, and this card almost broke the format previously with Percival, so kind of glad that it did get its rocks kind of knocked off a bit. And then next up over here, I'm going to be talking about my personal, I think this is my favorite, I guess, archetype within Gold Paladin. I kind of like this guy. I don't know why, just aggravating. He looks funny. He's yelling. He's got a sword, It's kind of a very Chad looking card, but this guy's all about swinging with rear guards. Of course, building a board, Gold Paladin, no surprise there, but once you swing, Counterblast 1, take all your rear guards, put it into Soul. Then based on however many cards you called that turn, you get to look at the top cards from your deck and call them down. And the nice thing about this is like insane multi-attack. It's a little bit of a high roll, but if you do hit it, it feels really nice. And this is not locked behind your opponent being on grade 3. Ezel's power, Gurgit's power is locked behind grade 3. So that is kind of a bummer, but this guy is not. And you can also Soul Blast 12 and Axe Skill, and until the end of the fight, your opponent cannot use trigger units. So if you can accelerate that in Soul in, which I think you honestly can, somebody on our team has a build where he pretty much focuses on that Soul. He's got this off quite consistently. The game is kind of slowed down a bit, so very interesting card. I really like the art, really kind of like the idea of that card, and I also have a special connection with this just because this is I think the last set that I really picked up right before COVID, so I was stuck with this deck for a long time, just play testing the crap out of it. So very special to me. But we also have another archetype. This is going to be Prominence Core. Tough again, just really top spamming. Nothing too much to say here. This isn't the best card. This came out in the last clan selection. It's good. It's generic enough to be a good boss monster, and the clan itself is just, I think it's carried by its rear guards really, and is pretty solid. But you're really just counterblasting, retiring a unit, and then looking at top cards. Call things down, and then you basically get, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater or something like that, yeah, you get an extra crit on here. So not too bad. This is a little bit of pressure on the Vanguard, just calling, spamming, doing what Gold Paladin does very generically. I do want to mention this guy over here too. This is similar. This is Prominence Glare, the Azure Flames. Again, just top calling, counterblast, discard a card, and then boom, we get a couple different effects based on how many cards we called this turn. I do have a deck profile on this guy over here too, just to show you guys, like, it was really a masterclass in why the clan is broken. And with the Percival hit, I think these two decks definitely took a step back. A lot of these decks can still survive. Gurgit almost got a buff in a way because you can put him back in there at just 1 of. So overall, I think it's still a pretty strong clan. And then of course we do have Ezel, so I'm going to go into Ezel in just a minute. I forgot to mention too Garmor. I think it's worth it to just mention because it is kind of a cult classic. It's on my mat over here too, but Garmor is worth mentioning, but it's not competitive enough. I'm not going to get into it. So cool, that is kind of the clan overview. I do have a bunch of deck profiles on here as well. I'm going to say that, you know, the ban list has affected these, but they are a good starting point if you want to swap some cards out. I'll link them down in the description below. But without further ado, let's hop right into Ezel. Alright, jumping right into it now, we are going to be looking at the main boss unit. This is going to be Grand Ezel Scissors. So, Grand Ezel Scissors is an awesome card, really helps accelerate the deck and bring the archetype kind of back to life. I don't think this is a meta-defining deck necessarily, but definitely floats around like a pretty solid category altogether, and I wouldn't be surprised seeing this at regionals, at locals, things like that. Like, people will want to play this. It's not only a fan favorite, but it is actually a decent deck now. So, its skills read as following: act on Vanguard Circle. We can cost put a grade 3 with Ezel in its card name from our hand into our soul, and then choose all of the grade 3 cards in our soul with an Ezel in their name. And it basically gains all the abilities. That does not include itself, so you can't like double up on that effect in a way. And its second skill reads that act on Vanguard Circle if our opponent is grade 3 or greater, and then we have 2 or more grade 3 cards in our soul, we can counterblast 1, and then till the end of turn, this unit gains drive +1 on your opponent's Vanguard. Auto abilities do not activate, and then we can also unlock all of our locked cards. So I think the unlock thing is pretty interesting if, you know, you're playing Chaos Breaker. I think it's more like a thematic kind of thing with this, because this kind of I think solved that lock thing. So they're just kind of keeping that with continuity. But the auto abilities on Vanguard affects a couple people actually. I think what was it? It's a continuous, not an auto. But Kokaitis Reverse has an auto. Gurgit has an auto actually too. A couple of Vanguards do have defensive auto abilities, so this is an interesting interaction there. And then unlocking things too is just really big because you will be able to multi-attack, and maybe you can call things over those units now. So pretty interesting in that regard. But its first skill is awesome. So we're basically gaining so much in this. We are gaining Sentinel Restrict, an extra critical, an extra 15k. We're gaining top deck manipulation. We are also gaining an extra just 100% guarantee, like another what was it, call from hand on attack with the Blonde Ezel skill. So we're getting all of our other Ezel skills. So it's really interesting. I'll go over the other skills in depth, obviously, as I go through the profile, but this being able to do that, like, it's really not insane to get every single Ezel skill. It's actually quite easy in this deck. This whole deck is like built to do that. The reason I'm running it at 3 is because we accelerate so fast. We're drawing so much with Excel markers and such. I think that I pretty much have never not ridden this guy. I think one game I didn't see him in hand for my first grade 3 ride, which wasn't the end of the world. So I really do like the 3 of. I think that there's just so many cards in this deck that we need to actually have for consistency reasons, and as such, I think cutting this down to 3 is not actually incorrect. I see it pretty much every single game, so I like it. And there's a lot of searchers in this deck too, so we're going to keep it at that 3 of. I think it's definitely a really solid card overall, and I'm very happy with the card as it stands. Moving right along, something that we actually do need at 4 of, that is a grade 3 Ezel unit. We actually need Blonde Ezel at a 4 of. So if you aren't familiar, Blonde Ezel has 2 ways to superior ride up into it, and this really is the starter for your engine. And you need to see this in hand for one of them, hence the reason why I'm running 4. I don't think many people would really argue that that's incorrect, but basically if you have a Bowmain's grade 2 and Gareth on field, the Bowmain searches the Gareth. I'll go over that in a bit. You can basically take this from hand and then superior ride. So you're superior riding onto grade 3 on your grade 2 turn, which is pretty awesome. So your opponent could be on grade 1 and you're already on grade 3. On top of that too, there is another combo to kind of get that off too with Wonder Ezel, and another card, the Howl. Basically you have on rear guard, you retire the Howl and superior ride this from deck. So you could search it out 2 ways. This is the engine starter. We're pretty much doing everything, funneling it through this Blonde Ezel over here, so we do need it at that 4 of. And then the next card over here, I'm just going to kind of lay these on top of each other because they do kind of go into each other, and I'll probably talk about them. I think 3 Ravenhair Ezel is correct over here too. So again, this has another hand effect, and the reason I'm running at 3 is because, again, we can search the deck. It's not the first starter in the combo, so if you see it, great. You know, you can go into the combo correctly. If not, like, it's not the end of the world. You can still put other Ezels into Soul, but basically, if you're on Blonde Ezel, you can Counterblast 1 and then ride this card at stand. So again, your opponent's on grade 1, Counterblast 1, this guy's already on your Vanguard circle, Counterblast 1, boom, ride it. You basically took away that clause that said that you could only get 1 drive check here. So you can now twin drive on your grade 3 turn. I mean, on your opponent's grade 1 turn. And then on top of that too, like, again, all these skills are being inherited when your Ezel Scissors rides them. So you're getting a multi-attack. Basically, when it attacks Blonde Ezel, you can call a card from hand. When it attacks, you Counterblast 1 for this guy, and then you get an extra 15k, a Sentinel Restrict, and an extra critical. So it's just really huge. Like, there's a lot of good effects in this, and I feel like it was kind of hard previously to balance when you wanted to play one compared to the other. I think in all their formats aside from Premium, this just wasn't, you know, that great previously, but now being able to take all these amazing skills, put them into one unit, very, very good. And then another card that we are looking to gain the skills from too is Platinum Ezel. So this guy isn't really a ride target. You never ride into him, doesn't do any fancy hand interactions or anything like that. Previously, this was the boss unit you wanted to go into, but this guy is really interesting because now just tucking him into Soul with Ezel Scissors skill is actually really effective. And this is the Royal Flush. This is what I'm going to kind of be referring to. And it's so easy to get this off. Like, I feel like the consistency in this deck is super, super high, and getting off all these powerful skills feels really good. So Platinum, basically what he does is Counterblast 1, and then if you have 2 grade 2s and 2 grade 3s in Soul, you have to look at both the first and the second drive check. As such, you basically look at the top 2 cards, call 1 to Guardian Circle, 1 to drive check, and then 1 to Rearguard Circle. So basically you're spamming attacks, you're multi-attacking first and then swinging with Vanguard, so you're replacing attacks that have already happened with other attacks, and then on top of that, you're just like rigging your drive check, so it ends up being decently powerful overall, and in a deck that really can just overwhelm and flood your opponent, this is a very powerful skill. And then its second effect is that basically you can do that again if you have 2 or more. So 2 of the 3 Ezel drive checks with Scissors become rigged, and then you get that third one too. So really nice. I just really like it. I think that all these, like I said, in combination become very powerful with Ezel Scissors. So I think the ratios are pretty much set in my mind. I am pretty happy with those. I've been playtesting this deck quite a bit. I think that, you know, if you wanted up some consistency, if you like seeing Raven Hair, whatever it is, like, sure, bump it up. Maybe Scissors can go up by 1 more, but overall the deck is like really tight on room, and I think there are a lot of things in this clan in general that are pretty good, and it's hard not to include them. So moving right along then into our grade 2 lineup over here, we are going to be talking about Beaumains. So kind of mentioned this before, but when placed on Vano Rear, we discard a card from our hand, and we search a Knight of Elegant Skill, Gareth. That basically allows us to go into Blonde Ezel if we have this in hand, and then when placed by a card's ability, this guy gets an extra 3k. So kind of came out earlier in V, so that 3k hitting the 12k is just not exactly a magic number, but even so, we take what we can get. Moving along then to the next grade 2 over here, we're going to be talking about Wonder Ezel. So Wonder Ezel is actually really awesome, and this did get reprinted too, so I'm kind of glad. I think it was decently expensive for a while because of Gurgit, but this is the other way we accelerate into that Blonde Ezel, and this is the search one. So act on Vanguard Circle, you basically ride this, Soul Blast 1, and then retire a Howl on your Rearguard Circle. Then we search our deck for Blonde Ezel, and then ride it. So again, 2 ways to get into a superior ride on your supposed grade 2 turn, so could be very, very effective overall. And when this unit is placed on rear, its second effect, you can call a card from your hand to Rearguard Circle. So again, if you call this from the top deck off of, let's say, Platinum, you can spam another multi-attack. There is a whole lot of hand shredding in this, and you have to expend a lot of resources, but in general, like, you're getting those attacks off, and so long as you can make them kind of worth it, I think it is really solid overall. So that is the grade 2 lineup. And then one last actually tech over here. I'm trying this card. I think it's okay. I might cut this. I'm not 100% sure, but during your turn, this guy gets 5k for each grade 3 with Ezel in its soul. So in your soul, so you can technically have like a bunch. You can have first grade 3 ride basically goes like you ride onto this. Your first like natural grade 3 ride, at least you go onto this, and you should have 3 other Ezels in Soul at that point, because he can put one from hand into Soul. So if you have that Royal Flush going, you already have a 15k, makes this a 24k unit boosted, unboosted, and then if you have another one, like another turn goes by, that's another 2 into Soul, so this guy can get really big really quick. I think this is more a late game card, so as such, I've just kind of left it at that one of just trying it out, and it also has a Leonard kind of skill where if your Soul has 2 or more grade 3 cards, when this guy would attack, it battles all your opponent's units in the same column. So this came out also in the Clan Collection. I think it's interesting. I'm tucking it in at that one of, I'm trying it out. It's not bad. It's not great either at the moment, so you know, if you were to cut something, maybe that would be it. But I also like a little bit more ride consistency into grade 2, and just having the grade 2 in hand really helps. Moving right along then too, since it is searchable, I am going into just 2 of these Gareths. Gareth is a good card because when placed on by a card's ability, counterblast 1, this guy gets 10k, so making this guy actually attack for decent numbers overall. I think that is actually important in this deck, because you'll have a lot of attacks, but then some of them just, you know, they hit a defensive trigger. The deck still kind of suffers to that and still doesn't kind of get over it, so this guy definitely helps with that in general. And then, since it is searchable, I'm only running 2 of them. Next up over here, because this is not searchable, I'm running 4. This is going to be Howl. So Howl interacts with that blonde Ezel. Wonder Ezel to go into the blonde Ezel, so we just kind of need it. And its skill: at the end of battle, this unit boosted. If you have a Vanguard with Ezel in its card name, counterblast 1, put this unit into your soul, draw a card, and call a card from your hand to rear. So more multi-attack, fueling your soul a little bit. You know, not great, not terrible. I think there's better things to spend counterblasts on in general in this deck, and you'll see kind of when you play it, you'll see what I mean. Next up over here too, this is kind of the MVP now. I think this is a huge card and actually applies pressure throughout the game. This is going to be Sacred Twin Beast White Lion. So this also just came out, and this guy is an awesome card. Top 7 searcher essentially, van or rear. When this unit attacks, or the attack that it boosted hits, we can get to look at the top 7 of our deck, and then we can choose up to 2 Ezel cards, add 1 to hand, and if we added the second one, we put 1 card from our hand into the soul. So you're kind of rigging your soul, searching for those cards, thinning your deck. This really allows us to run these slimmer ratios of some grade 3s, I believe, overall, and just kind of makes a quality hit on board. And, you know, even later in the game, you know, when this is just like a 13k, this is still something your opponent doesn't want to let hit. So this might be a good fodder to kind of swing with to bait some guard out of their hand. I really like the card. I think that it definitely helps bring the deck to like a decent level of consistency. Because Gorbaduck is good, but this is definitely a lot better, and even though it's hidden behind the on-hit kind of effect, I still think it's definitely worth it. And then lastly, to round out the grade 1s, I'm running 2 of Dindrain. So Dindrain's still a classic, still our countercharger. I think it's better than the other countercharger because it doesn't have to be, this can be just called by a unit's skill. The other guy has to be called from the top deck, the other grade 1 coming out of Clan Collection, so I think this is just way more consistent. Soul Blast 1, Countercharge 1, this guy gets 3k until the end of turn, or you can draw a card too, but I think most of the time we're using the Countercharge. I think it's still necessary. When you're playing this deck, you're going to see, you know, you need a Counterblast for him, you need a Counterblast for Platina, you need a Counterblast for Ravenhair, so I think throughout the game, you're going to see you need those Counterblasts. Dindrain is definitely coming in clutch and very easy to call off of skills, so that is very nice. And then let's move into the triggers over here. Of course, also just starting off, we have the grade 0. You need to actually run this one because of the Blonde Ezel skill. You have to Soul Blast a Lion Cub Criff to get the Bowmane and Gareth proc off. So starting off with our trigger lineup now, I'm going 6 front actually. 6 front, 2 crit, 4 heal, and 4 draw PGs. So 6 front just because we have so many calls. We want to be able to really get those to be a little bit more quality, and since we can rig the top with Platina, I think it's just worth it to do that, to be honest. I think that if you don't run fronts in this deck, like, you just have too many wet noodle attacks. I know crits win games, believe me, I totally do, but when you play this out, you'll see. I think it's definitely worth it to run more of the fronts. You just create like a general overwhelming field and get that hit pressure on instead of crit pressure. So 2 of these though, because we do, you know, sometimes you get lucky, you just hit that crit. Sometimes too, your opponent needs to see that crit just to be like not calculating, you know, to maybe throw off some of their calculations. Because if all they see is fronts in your drop, you know, wherever it is in your board, whatever you're calling them, like, they're gonna think, okay, well, I can just take his Vanguard attack, or I could just take this attack, that attack, because you know, he doesn't have crits in his deck. Maybe I have room to just take the 2 crit that his Vanguard would do anyway. This kind of changes the deal, so they see a crit now, and it's like, oh shoot, I'm at 3, so I might go to 6 then. So it just changes their calculations overall. And I am not running the Heal Guardians. I know it kind of sucks, and I feel like I wish I could, but this deck is all about riding up and superior riding. Shuts off the skill of the Heal Guardian. This guy has a 20k shield. More shield is better overall. We don't need that grade 3 in soul. We don't discard grade 3s or anything like that. So the 20k shield definitely is better. And of course, PGs. Draw's good because we don't draw like an absolute ton in this deck. We do filter and like get a lot through our Excel circles, but other than that, like, those draw triggers really are nice. And having a Sentinel in today's game that's just like dominated by force is just so important. So I really do like this deck. I think that this is a solid lineup overall. I hope that it is a solid building point for you in your personal deck. Let's hop into a test hand and I'll show you guys how the deck kind of plays out. Alright, let's start off with our test hand over here just to get started. We are looking to actually accelerate super fast in this deck. Like, I really enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that, like, you know, you're off to the races immediately. There's no waiting around. It feels like an interactive deck in a lot of different ways. I really do enjoy the playstyle of this deck, and I think it's pretty good. And again, it's not top meta. It's really not. This does depend on a lot of high roll. You can call booty things like triggers down accidentally, or, you know, from the top 4 you hit all triggers, boom, calling triggers down off platinum and whatnot. But just the ability and high roll potential is there. Whoops, I didn't shuffle this guy in. What the heck? I guess that was part of my pile, so let's redo that real quick as I kind of go on. But I think that, you know, the high roll potential is there, and it could be really good within this deck. So I think we got enough shuffling. Let's get going. So we're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, 5, yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so I'm actually going to put back all the triggers. I'm going to keep the Gareth just because we need a grade 1 ride target over here. But let's put those back and draw 1, 2, and 3. Alright, interesting hand. This is actually pretty interesting. We really need to draw into a blonde here or a Wonder Ezel to kind of get our engine going. But if we can get either one of those cards, like, we can be absolutely fine with this hand. So let's see it happen here. So we're going to stand and draw. We're going to pretend we go first, just like we do in all of our test hand videos. But let's not waste it. Let's just get the Howl down over here and draw. We do get the blonde. Nice. So, can we do it? Yeah, we can do this here. So we're going to pass it over to our opponent. Let's take a damage for their turn. Boom. Front. All right. Stand and draw for our turn now. So we do get the scissors in hand. Nice. So we do get pretty much all the royal flush except for platinum. So we'll see if we can kind of get that as well. So I'm going to go into here. I'm going to go discard something from my hand. I am actually going to discard a copy of... Don't really need Howl anymore because he's going to be a dead card because we're not going into the Wonder Ezel kind of lineup. But we are going to go and search out a Gareth right here. And I think I'm going to move him up. Let's move him up, I think. But first, we're going to move that up. And then we are going to Soul Blast 1, Lion Cub Criff. And then we're going to ride this from hand. Getting an Excel marker, and it is -1 drive, but that's okay because we're going to get rid of that in just a second. So boom, I'm not going to use his skill because we need to save it for our Raven Hair. Let's just move these back a little bit over here so that's more in focus, and then we're going to draw off of the Excel 2. So we're already starting our engine up over here, which is really nice. But we are going to counterblast 1 to get the Raven Hair down, and we're going to generate another Excel marker, and then we get the twin drive here, so that's actually pretty big draw. And I don't think it's really beneficial to start spamming other things to field at the moment. Like, we could poke a little bit with this one, but if they hit a trigger, it basically becomes a dead card. So I'm actually just going to what am I going to do? You know what, let's swing with Van first. Let's make this yeah, just going to be twin drive, 13k, 1, 2, front trigger. Nice. So that does get 18, so even if they hit 1, it still threatens for a hit. Gonna swing over there, and we kind of get ourselves set up pretty nicely. We'll see overall if we get another grade 3 in hand. We're a little slim on them. I wish I had that top 7 searcher, but we're gonna pass it over to our opponent, take a damage, power draw. And with that, I think that really kind of concludes our, you know, let's say that power, you know, at that point kind of shuts the rest of their turn off. So we're going to stand and draw. Let's see, can we draw into the platinum? Nope, we can't. But we're not going to have a platinum, but even still, it is pretty solid. We have another Ezel to kind of go into our soul and do that. So let's ride there. We're going to get the Excel marker here, and we're going to draw off of that. So I don't have another Gareth in thing. That's fine. Let's see. I'm going to activate his skill. I'm going to put a grade 3 with Ezel in its name. So now it gains all of the Ezel abilities in its soul. Is there anything else I want to do? I do kind of want to spam the field here. Let's go with 1. Let's go. I'm going to go 2. Yeah, I'm going to go 2. And we are going to swing. Our opponent's not on grade 3, so actually, yeah, our opponent's not on grade 3, but we are going to counterblast 1 when we swing because we do have the Ezel skill of Raven Hair. So we are then going to get an extra 15k and an extra crit, and we also get a Sentinel Restrict on that. We are also going to use Blonde skill of calling a card down. We're going to Soul Blast 1 to counter charge. And she gets 3k. So we are now going to swing. This is just twin drive over here, but even still, pretty powerful. 1 power. Let's say we do heal over here. Second check. Where am I putting the power? I don't know. I'm putting it in Gareth or something right here, just so we can threaten to hit. Second check. We do get the platinum now, so next turn could be pretty decent overall. And then we are going to, you know, just swing, see what you can poke with. Obviously take out their field if, you know, they hit a trigger and you can't get over it. But as you can see, like, that extra crit, that extra thing, like, you're getting a lot of guard out of hand, which is pretty cool. Let's just do one more turn just to kind of see how it goes. 1, 2, alright, 3, let's say. Alright, I gotta start guarding something. So, guard, and guard, you know, that was 4 or 5 attacks. We just, you know, passed on that. So we are now going to stand up over here. And we are going to draw a card. I'm gonna get another one. Nope. You could, if you get another scissors, it's sizzles. I said. It is pretty beneficial because then you could ride into it and still do this. But I'm gonna put the Platina into Soul over here. Now everything is kind of unlocked for this turn. So super nice. We are going to. Do I have anything? Yeah. I'm just gonna swing with her first because I will be able to replace it. Let's swing with Gareth too. Or I mean, yeah, over here because I will be able to pop something down. And I don't want to swing again because off of the Platina I could boost this guy. He definitely needs a booster this turn, so let's do it. Let's activate 1, 2, 3. I need 3 counterblasts for this because 1 for Platina, 1 for Ravenhair, 1 for himself. And now let's do the check, and we're also going to call a card down from hand, so I'm going to replace this here. Soul Blast 1. I am going to counter charge. I always do the counter charge even if you think you don't need it. Like you just saw, I needed 3 counterblasts for that Royal Flush, so I definitely do suggest always doing that. But let's use its skills. So what did I do? I did that. I called that down off the Blonde Ezel. I'm going to do Platina. I also have the Sentinel Restrict. I also have the extra drive on here. So 2, calling 1 to Guardian Circle, 1 to Rear Guard Circle. I'm gonna call this to Rear. Actually, it is beneficial. If I think I'm going to live another turn, it is beneficial to have an Ezel in its hand, hand. So I am actually going to call this one down. Drive check this one so it gets added to hand. Second check, we're going to check the top 2. Again, Platina's full skill goes off. And again, kind of a tough situation here, but I'm going to put that behind the Gareth just to be able to boost, and then I'm going to drive check that. So kind of dry on the drive checks. Again, a lot of this does depend on high roll, but we do get that third. Oh man, Wonder Ezel, of course. But overall, not terrible. Like, it definitely could have been a lot worse, but we do put a lot of pressure on with just the Vanguard. Now this just becomes the poking game. Let's do these guys next, I guess. You know, let's say that one they hit. Top 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's add 2. Just 1 to hand, and then 1 to hand also, but this one goes into Soul then. That's fine. And yeah, I mean, that's the idea of the deck overall. Like, you can definitely have higher roll turns in that, and you do deck thin pretty quickly. I don't have too much left in there right now, but I really do like this deck. I think that it is very fast. It's a very fun play style, something that, you know, a lot of Vanguard kind of lacks. A lot of it is just like, you know, restand, have fun. Like, nope. I think this is a really interesting way of playing Vanguard, and I think that definitely one of the better archetypes right now for Gold Paladin. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you would change anything in the deck, how you're kind of running it, and if you guys are interested, make sure to subscribe to our Twitter to kind of get those local updates. You could interact with us more on there too. I definitely do answer a little bit more on Twitter and stuff if you have questions, so definitely let me know. So thank you again in advance. More deck profiles to come, I promise. Alex from Team Generations signing out.